Hey guys, it's Craig here, and welcome back to my vinyl channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today, I want to talk to you about a new cartridge that I purchased, which you've probably heard of, but I want to sort of tell you about my journey with that cartridge, and I'll give you a little bit of a review on it as well, as best I can. A while back, I did a couple of videos on a new turntable that I purchased. This is the Fluence RT81. And it's a beautiful turntable, especially for the price. I really like it. It's quiet. There's no motor noise whatsoever. The speed is dead on. I've had absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. I've put some different cartridges on it. It just sounds good. I have absolutely no issues with it, and I highly recommend it. No, I'm not being paid for this. Okay, so when I did the videos for that turntable, I mentioned that I would recommend an upgrade to the cartridge. And my recommendation was do you know how much I love to be able to just pull these off at will and change them whenever I want? I don't like to be stuck with one cartridge screwed onto a tone arm. I like to be able to change them out. It's part of the hobby. I think it's nice to be able to decide what mood you're in, what kind of a sound you want. Some records sound better with some cartridges and some sound better with others, and I like to be able to experiment. So just a side note there. I'd like to be able to change these out like that easily. Anyway, the cartridge that I recommended was the Audio-Technica AT440 MLA. And shortly after that, I was informed by my viewers, thank you, that this cartridge has been discontinued. And I didn't know that. So obviously you're not going to be able to use this cartridge or replace it with. Audio-Technica has apparently redone their whole line of cartridges and discontinued this particular one. So when I heard that, I kind of panicked a little. I thought, oh geez, what am I going to do when the stylus wears out on this, or if something happens to the cartridge? Because I love this cartridge. I love this. I love the sound of this cartridge. I really do. It's everything I always wanted in a phono cartridge. And so I thought, what am I going to do when it wears out, or when I want to replace it? And so I started thinking about buying one of the new models, the new Audio-Technica cartridges. I'm not quite sure which one actually replaces this cartridge. I would assume, probably the red one here. I don't know the model number. You guys can see it, but I'm not quite sure. So I was thinking of purchasing that and just having it around. And then I thought, if I'm going to spend the money on another cartridge, why don't I go somewhere else? Why don't I buy something different? And so that I can experiment. Because if I buy that other Audio-Technica cartridge, I'm probably going to just be buying the same thing, and it's not going to be much fun. And that's going to be available in the future, most likely. So I thought, I'm going with something different. I did my research, and you probably wouldn't be surprised to find out that I actually decided on the Ortifon Red. Okay, it's one of the talked about cartridges on YouTube. It's not very expensive. It cost me $150 Canadian. It's $100 US. So it's certainly affordable and not a very high risk purchase. I also did some listening on YouTube, and I know YouTube compresses and everything. It's good enough to see what you're getting and find out if it's something that you'd like to buy. I don't seem to have a problem with experimenting, watching videos on YouTube about cartridges, because all the cartridges have the same YouTube compression, so it's easy to compare them one against another. So the Ortifon Red is the one I chose. It's got the stylus guard here, and you've seen this before. I also opted for the Ortifon head shell, which is a metal head shell or aluminum or whatever it is, and it's a nice looking thing. It matches, and it's just nice to have things looking nice, and it certainly looks great on the turntable. Now, one of the things, and I'll get into the sound of this and what I think of it in just a few minutes. I will tell you that I'm happy with it, and so you can ride with that for just a while. I did notice though that the head shell is higher. Can you see if I line up those two sockets there, or those two plugs? You can see that the Audio-Technica cartridge is considerably higher up than the standard, with the Ortofon, and of course the Technics cartridge head shells that you get all over the place. So when I mounted the cartridge, I had a little problem. When I set it down on the record to play the record after aligning it and setting the the counterweight and the ice skating and all that, it wouldn't completely set down on the record. It wouldn't. My tone arm won't go down far enough. So I thought, well, I could readjust the tone arm, or the lift lever on the tone arm, but I really didn't want to mess with my turntable. So what I ended up doing was putting a spacer in between the head shell and the cartridge. And this isn't anything new. People do this, but I didn't really have anything readily available to do this with. I tried washers, aluminum washers. Well, they were too big. They stuck out the sides, and they were too heavy. They made the whole thing heavier. And so what I ended up doing, and I know this is a bit of a bodge, a bit of a bit of a by the seat of my pants job, but I needed to get this thing mounted so I could listen to it. So I ended up getting a piece of an old credit card. It wasn't really a credit card. It was a roadside assistance card that had expired. But anyway, I got a piece of that, and I just cut it into a little square, as you can see here, stuck a piece of adhesive on there, and then I just put it on top and used it as a spacer. Now, this is a little bit of a crude workaround, I know. I probably could have cut it to the exact shape of the cartridge and drilled the two holes so that it was nice and even and flat. And I probably will do that eventually. But this was just a way of getting it working. And I made sure it was all level and everything. And as you can see, if I bring this up to the camera a little bit, so you're losing my audio, but so that you can see that it is mounted, properly. Okay, so there's no problem. Some people are gonna get fussy about that, but it is properly mounted. So once I got that straightened around, I finally got a chance to align it, set the anti-skating and the counterweight, and start listening to it. Now, I had heard some comparisons on YouTube with this side-by-side with the AT440 MLA cartridge, which I have, and I could kind of tell that they were sort of similar sounding. But one of the mistakes that people make sometimes when they do these A-B comparisons, they're going from one cartridge to the next, back and forth while they're playing the record, is they choose the wrong places to make the switch. So you don't make the switch from one cartridge to the other at the end of a section of the song. You have to do it in the middle of a section so that there's no changes in the audio, so there's no changes in the music. So you got a tambourine and a cymbal and a hi-hat going, and then all of a sudden it changes to a shaker and something else. Well, that's not where you want to make the switch from one cartridge to the other. You got to do it in the middle. So I had some idea what the difference between this cartridge and that one was, but not very much. But heck, for the money and for the rave reviews that this thing has gotten, I decided to go for it. I used my protractors. I used what is this one? Yes, the Bearwald alignment tool from vinylengine.com, I think that's what it is. Anyway, it's the Bearwald, and I find that the Bearwald one works great with this turntable. And I do have a video on turntable setup. If you want to watch that, I'll put a link down in the description for that as well. So, how does it sound? Well, once I went through all the trouble of mounting it and hooking up the wires and getting it all lined up, I finally dropped it on my first record. And what one was that? The one record that is very difficult to play because it was recorded very hot with a lot of sibilants. This is one of my own 45s that I recorded back in the late 80s called After All. You can listen to this song on soundcloud.com. I'll put the link to that down below as well. And so this record is very difficult to track. The only cartridge that I've ever found that tracks it almost perfectly, if you can say perfectly, is the AT440 because it's got the microline stylus. And the microline stylus is very good with sibilance. It's very, very good with splatter. It avoids splatter very well. And it just gets in those tiny grooves, and it has a lot of capabilities when it comes to velocity and tracking those high frequencies at high levels. Okay, so now the Ortifon Red cartridge is an elliptical stylus, so it's not the same needle. And I knew this going in, and I knew what the difference was going to be. So when I tried playing that record with this cartridge, I heard exactly what I expected. A little bit of splatter, but not much. Still very well tracked record. So I put that record away and started playing some real records. And I went into my collection and I got some Dire Straits. I got some Supertramp out, some Rush, different ones to listen to. Some stuff you've probably never heard of, like FM. Black Noise is a great album if you've never heard that one, progressive rock. And I listened. And I'll tell you, for $100 US, this cartridge is very, very honest. It has, and everyone's got their own opinion on it. You know, some people think it doesn't have enough bass. Some people think it's got too much bass. Some people, you know, and it depends on your preamp. It depends more on your preamp than it does on your turntable. It's my opinion that the turntable really has very little to do with the sound of the cartridge. Yes, I know there's resonances and different things that, you know, go on and whatnot, but all in all, I think as far as the equalization of the cartridge, the amount of bass, the amount of treble, the amount of mid-range, mostly it's going to be your preamp that's going to make a difference, whether you like the cartridge or the next guy doesn't like the cartridge. So I have a Nico preamplifier. I'll put the model number down below. It's right here. It's I don't know if you can see it. The microphone is in the way, but I'll get a close-up of it. This is a vintage preamplifier. I've put some new capacitors in it, and it is great. It's got the 47 ohm and the 100 ohm setting for cartridges, and so you can choose between those two. Anyway, back to the cartridge. I really liked the sound of it. I thought it was very honest, very true to the music. Very true to the music. I enjoyed the sound of it a lot. There was nothing about it that bothered me. I didn't hear any sibilance, you know, any splatter on 95% of the passages. There was complete clearness. I was just able to close my eyes and put myself in the soundstage. It's a very natural sounding cartridge. And this, of course, is my opinion. Certainly, if you're reconditioning a turntable or you're looking to replace a cartridge, I could really highly recommend this thing. If you don't want to spend the money on that thing over there or whatever's replacing it these days, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to recommend the Ortofon Red. And again, I'm not sponsoring or being sponsored by Ortofon for this video. I just found that it was pleasant sounding. It had great high frequencies, nice and crisp, nice detail, a great bottom end, and it also lacks the inner groove distortion that some cartridges have. And I will not put up with inner groove distortion. There is no reason anybody should put up with that. And some cartridges just do it. I don't want to listen to a cartridge that craps out 3/4 of the way through the album. Okay? There's no reason for that. When this gets to the end of the record, and I played records that go really close to the label, it held out very well. So, I highly recommend it for you if you want to try a cartridge. And, of course, if you have a turntable that allows you to change out the cartridges easily, then it's a lot of fun. There we go. So that's my opinion. Now, I'm going to be posting another video with a needle drop with this cartridge. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to put on there yet, what song I'm going to use. I don't want to do it on this video because I don't want to get this video flagged for copyright. But of course, I will make a separate video for that, just to let you hear how this turntable and this cartridge sound together. Again, a decent turntable is going to sound good. When you put a Fluence RT81 next to a, I don't know, an Audio-Technica AT120, AT-LP120 turntable, come on, guys. I mean, with the same cartridge, there's not going to be a lot of difference as long as you're using the same preamplifier, okay? You know, there's things that could influence the sound, but for the most part, and to most ears, and for most systems that people have, it's the difference with the turntables is going to be very little. It's the cartridge and the preamp that are going to make most of the difference. To say that the turntable is going to make a huge difference in the sound with the same cartridge is like saying that this mic stand is going to make a huge difference in the sound to this microphone. That's like saying if I put this microphone on a different mic stand, it's going to sound completely different. If you went and spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a turntable, you might disagree with me on that, but I'm sorry. That's my opinion. So, okay. So thank you very much for watching, and have fun with your turntable. Have fun with your cartridges. And if you haven't bought a turntable yet and you want to do this, what I'm doing here is having fun and buying 2 or 3 cartridges and switching them out and experimenting, make sure you can remove the cartridges easily and interchange them. The only thing you have to do when you do that is reset the counterweight and the anti-skating. And it doesn't take very long to do that. As long as each one of them is aligned on the head shell for that turntable, you can switch them out pretty quickly. Okay? All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned. I have more coming up. And somebody asked me to go through my audio system and tell you what I listen on and what components I have and what I use for my live broadcast, which is on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on vonlive.tv/CraigTube. But yes, I will be doing a video very soon on my system, which has been constructed over years. I didn't just go out and buy a stereo. I pieced it together over years, and I like it. It sounds good to me. And I also have a good set of headphones, which I'll talk about as well. Okay? Thank you so much for coming back. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Click that little bell beside the subscribe button if you want to be notified when I post a new video. Please comment down below and share this video wherever you would like. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Take care.